Hello, and welcome to the Rollwise Show, the place where we talk about tabletop RPGs. Today, we have a little bit of a character creation process that we're going to be going through for a game called The Magical Land of Yeld, second edition. So this is a game where we were given a PDF copy by the creators, so that we can just kind of give it a look at, give it a review, do what we wanted to do with that. And so we thought, might as well kick the tires a little bit, get an idea for the game, play it, see how it plays, and all those kind of things, and see how it goes. So I've got my two co-hosts that are always joining me on these misadventures that are going to be making some friends. And so, are you guys ready to get into the magical land of Yeld?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So, for those of you that don't know anything about the game, which I actually honestly had never really heard of, I had never heard of the game honestly before now. But the game is made by Nick Smith and Jake Richmond, and they have a company I think called Atarashi Games, something like that. And the Magical Land of Yeld is a tabletop role playing game where you and your friends play as kids who discover a secret door to a strange and magical world. At first, it's kind of just all fun and adventure. You go exploring, you fight monsters, you find treasure. But soon you realize that the door home has closed and it is barred by magical locks. In order to unlock these, you need to defeat Dargul's hunters. But beware, if you stay too long, you'll change into a monster and may be unable to return home. So the game, the premise is it's a very collaborative storytelling game. It's built around teamwork and kind of growing up. You do as you stay in Yeld, you actually take on heroic jobs, very very common jobs like black mage or witch. You go on quests and you face off against these powerful enemies, the hunters of Yeld, so you can get these keys to unlock the door. Um, so it's part fantasy, part coming of age story, and it's really about creating your own adventures together. So I thought today, when we're creating friends, we would kind of go through the friend creation process. It's not super difficult, although I would have to say that the initial character sheet was about 4 pages that I turned into just kind of an Excel sheet for us to play with. So it seemed like a lot, but after I made a friend, I was like, oh, it's really not that much.
And just so everyone knows, friends are what the game calls player characters.
hmm Yeah, so that's your PCs are called friends because they're typically between the ages of 7 and 12. Or if you wanted to get real fancy, you could play a 13-year-old, but there would come with a lot of extra caveats, I guess. So,
Well,
creating friends. You guys ready to create some friends?
Yeah.
Let's make sound all right. So first things first, I did want to make a couple mentions before we really get into making friends, so you guys know like what the game's basic premise is. And so the game is actually a fairly simple game. And this is kind of a dice pool building system where D6 are going to be your main dice. So you're going to have a set of what's called a core dice, and that's going to be kind of your basic statistics. You're brave, you're strong, or you're brave, you're strong, you're tough, and you're smart. You're going to have things that are called special dice, which are going to be representing what your friend is good at. This could be the special dice are really quite unique in their own way because they could be something as crazy as like a trip that could be a special dice for you, to a bunch of other things, and they have very situational applications that can be helpful for building that dice pool. You can also get what are known as borrowed dice. These borrowed dice come from armor, equipment, spells, etc., etc., and they're usually uh, they're used to build on your dice only when you're using said things. So, like if you're holding a sword, you can borrow the dice for that sword for whatever effects it does. And then you have armor dice, which armor dice is how you protect yourself against most attacks. And you add those to your tough dice so that when you're defending, you build that dice pool to try to make sure you resist any damage or anything along those lines. And then really the dice pools that we talked about there is how you're going to resolve a lot of the situations that you encounter. So as you're building your friend, it's actually going to be, you're going to see kind of what your friend is going to be good at, but your friend is not going to be super powerful, especially at first. You're really just a 7 to 12-year-old kid. So, lifting up tree trunks and all of those kind of things really isn't where you would start, but maybe where you could get to. So, making friends. There's really 7 steps. The first thing is you choose your age and your birthday. Now, you guys could choose your ages. They suggest rolling a d6 and adding 6 to it to get kind of where you start. So, what did you guys choose? D6 plus 6, or did you guys just pick?
I rolled for it, and I rolled a 10.
Okay.
I rolled for it as well, and I got a 12.
Okay. So 12. So this actually matters. Based on what your age is, you do get extra stuff. So when you're 10, you get 2 restore rolls and 1 special dice. The special dice being what I just talked about in terms of what your person is good at. You get a bonus special dice when making the character. And then restore rolls are what you do to kind of like heal in the game and all that kind of stuff. So you get 2 restore rolls, Brent, and 1 special dice. And then Jeff, you get 1 restore roll, but you get 2 special dice in addition to what's happens throughout the rest of creation. So
Right.
lots of special dice. So now, once you've got your age set, you choose your friend type. Now there are several archetypes and everything like that you get here, and most of these archetypes are designed around the kids that you would see in that age group. You'd see like a big sibling, so this could be either a big sister or a big brother. You have your rival, the person that you're always competing against. You have a bully archetype, a princess, a baby, a know-it-all liar, brat, or a dog. Because in the Magical Land of Yeld, that little scrappy puppy that comes with you through the magic portal gains the ability to talk and becomes a character option as well, if you'd like. So where did you guys see yourself landing in terms of the friend type?
I picked know-it-all.
Okay. So tell us a little bit about the know-it-all. What does the
Okay.
know-it-all do? Do they have, and what are their dice?
I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory. The know-it-all is the kid that is always right and he's happy about it. His just remember saying is, I always know what I'm talking about. And he gains the following benefits: core dice +1 smart and special dice +1 excuse me.
Okay. And we'll talk about excuse me a little bit later when we talk about combat. But just so people are aware, excuse me is an action that you take to interrupt other people when in combat.
Nice.
All right. So, Jeff, what about you? Where are you at?
I'm going to play the liar.
Ooh.
The liar is the friend that tells the best stories, but always seems to get into trouble. They have the cool pocket knife and know all about the best places to hide out. Isn't always honest, but he's the coolest kid you know. I'll try to pull that off. The just remember line is, just trust me. And the liar gains the following benefits: core dice +1 tough, and special dice +1 lie.
Okay. And so the lie special dice, just so people are aware, lie, when you use the lie special dice, liar pants on fire, you add to a brave roll and to tell a fib, tall tale, or outright lie. And so really what this is kind of interesting is that you convince a monster they hurt you during a fight. And so you roll your lie dice instead of your armor dice when you defend against an attack. And if your roll is successful, you do not lose the tough die or suffer any effects, but the attacks count as a success for the action or a monster chain. So you basically are, doing the soccer thing where you pretend to pull the penalty. They believe you, but you don't actually get hurt in the entire thing. I don't know. Maybe I just made all the soccer people mad, but I like watching fake soccer injuries. They're pretty funny. Kind of what I imagine that's how I imagine your character would lie.
Yeah, I think that's probably along the lines of how it goes.
Okay. So once you have your friend type and you've started to input your core and special die into the respective places on the character sheet, your third step is going to be to assign your core dice. Now, as a beginning friend, you're rank 0, you're just entering the world of Yeld, you get 5 more dice to add. Now, this is the catch. You put 1 of those dice in each of the spots. and then you get 1 additional dice to assign wherever you would like.
How many dice do we get again? Sorry.
You get 5, but you assign 4 of those 5 to each.
We get
each
5, but then we
dice.
get +1 for our character as well, or
Well, so you end up with 1 in each stat, then you get 1
Right.
bonus for your type, and then you get 1 bonus to assign wherever you'd like.
Okay.
Yeah, it's kind of written a little bit strange because I would say you should just start with 1 in each, add 1 for your friend type, and then get a bonus 1. That's my preferred way of describing that. But you'll
All
have
right, so
6
my
core
bonus
dice in
isn't
total.
tough.
Yeah.
Just trying
And
to
so
decide. I don't know if I want 3 to, not having played the game. It feels like I should spread it out, but maybe I just, go all in on tough.
Well, so let's do 2 things. So let's first of all explain the core dice just so people are aware of what we're
Sure.
talking about. I totally didn't do that, so I apologize. We'll do that now.
It's a new game, so
Yeah,
bound to
so
be
there are 4 different
backtracking.
types of core dice. Your strong core dice tells you how physically powerful your friend is. You roll strong dice to lift heavy rocks, climb over walls, jump over fences, run races, or do anything else that involves strength or athleticism. You have your tough dice, which tells you how resilient your friend is. Tells you how long you can walk, hold your breath, do anything else that involves stamina. You also use tough dice to determine what kind of armor you can wear and resist damage when you are in a fight. So, for a liar, that could be interesting because, you have the lie ability too to
Right.
kind of fake the injury out if you needed to. When you lie, you do continue the monster chain, and we'll talk about action chains later. But that could be a detriment in some circumstances. For smarts, you have your smart dice tells you how intelligent your friend is. You roll smart dice to notice enemies, understand languages, solve puzzles, pick locks, guess at clues, or do anything else that involves intelligence. And then you have your brave, which tells you how ready your friend is to face their fears and how quickly they move when in danger. You'll roll a brave dice to overcome your fears, interrupt monsters during fights, move on an action board. You also use brave to gain back lost core dice during restore rolls. And if you become a ghost during a fight, you use your brave dice to take ghost action or escape the ghost world. And here's something I thought I would do is I'll actually say what with the advice we got, because I did reach out to the creators and I said, hey, what advice what advice did we get from this folks as to for a beginning player, what should you do? Well, in some things, they just adding your dice and everything like that. It is really swingy. So, in this case, because the dice can kind of take you one way or another, it's really, you could lose, quote unquote, with a couple really good bad dice rolls. So if you lose and everything like that, you turn into ghosts in this game, and there's actually an entire kind of ghost component to it. That's a separate but hopefully fun way to approach the game. But they said they very much suggest putting your spare core die into tough. And then if you have any special dice left over, the nap special dice is very good for recovering your core dice down the road. And then, of course, if you have the run special dice, you can go drastically farther. So their 3 suggestions were tough, nap, and run.
So when they say special dice, they're actually talking about 2 things. They're talking about a bonus dice and an ability.
What do you mean? So like,
Well, because like if you, I'm just trying to clarify. So like if you look at the know-it-all,
Mhm.
I get the excuse me ability, which is called the
Correct.
special dice, but I also get a +1 to smart. And isn't that also listed as a special dice on the thing? I
No,
believe
it's not.
that's
That +1 is smart is the core dice.
okay.
So you get
Okay.
+1 core dice and then the special ability for the special dice. Good question, but yeah. Okay. So did I help at all? Giving you some ideas as to where you could spend spare core dice if you wanted to?
Kind of. I went against, since I already had 1 in tough, I took 1 in brave.
Okay. It's a good choice. I mean, it feels like everything situationally is good. So
Well,
You
right.
you
Sure.
also get a few bonuses from your job too, right?
Mhm.
And then I took a nap for my first. I'll go ahead and believe that special dice, but then I get 2 more special dice because I'm 12.
So this is where it gets interesting. So you get 1 special dice from your friend type.
Right?
And then you now during step 4, which is what happens after you have assigned your core dice, you get to choose an extra special dice. So you actually
That's where
have
I took nap.
so you get 1 for nap, and then so Brent, you even get to choose an extra special dice here as well. Then once that's selected, you get additional special dice based on your age. So in this case, now Jeff, you'll have 2 additional special dice to choose, and Brent, you'll get 1 additional special dice. Now, I'm not sure if we want to necessarily go through the various special dice options that are there. This might be a good idea for us to say, okay, well, you have 2 additional special dice, and if you want to, if you have them, like kind of, if you've seen a couple that have already jumped out at you, we can discuss them now. But some that stood out to me that I thought were interesting were, first of all, break. So you add your strong roll when trying to break something. So during a fight, you add your roll when making an attack. If your attack is successful against a target, will not lose a tough die. Instead, the target armor dice will be reduced by 1. So I thought that was kind of an interesting thing to kind of reduce their defense. Do things with rope. I know that's kind of a weird one, but that's a interesting way because that's one of the special dice that allows you to capture monsters and everything like that. So if you are successful, it's the monster is instead counted as captured and defeated instead of having to go through the full extended process. There are also, I mean, this game is very imaginative and creative. There's also ones like I just looked at this barf during a fight after
That's
using a
for
food item.
dogs.
Dog can do that. I thought that was hilarious.
Yeah,
They can
it's
just barf
specifically for
food.
dogs. It has it at the end.
I know. I'm just
Because I
just
looked at
love.
that because I was going to take it, but
Oh, you were.
no.
I just thought it was funny. There is hide and sneak, which is a special dice. First aid. Um, there is a good plan, which allows you to move a friend or an ally 1 space on the action board. Um, so
We obviously should both take last one standing for when one of us goes down.
good. It adds a bonus die.
Yeah, you get bonus die when you're the last one standing.
Yep. There's see in the dark. That's always an interesting one. There is also steal. You can be stealing from targets and stuff like that. So, but that oh, and then also what's that? That's also a good one too. But if you guys don't have any that are jumping out at you right now, I think this is a perfect one to kind of come back to, in my opinion.
Okay, we'll come back. We'll keep moving.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can come back to that. I did take nap as one of them, just as taking their suggestion.
Okay. One thing I did want to do is that they had suggested run. So run as a special dice, just so you guys are aware, is you run far and fast, and you add to a brave roll when trying to outrun a monster or get somewhere fast. During a fight, when you move or dash, you may move an extra number of spaces equal to your run dice. Now, the interesting thing about combat is if you need to leave combat for whatever reason, you can simply just like run off the board and then you leave combat. So it's, because you basically use like a chessboard type thing, and we'll talk about more of this later, but you just vamoose off the side, you're out of there. So FYI. Okay. So once you've chosen your special dice, you choose a home item. Now the home items in this are fairly basic. There's a slingshot, baseball bat, leather belt, flashlight, school books, nerdy glasses, swimming badges, pocket knives, band-aids, knee pads, confiscated nunchucks, squeaky toys, hockey sticks, and karate belts. So you get one of these items, and all these items are on page 183. And everything that you can get from this gives you some benefit that you can use when you have it. For example, the slingshot allows you to make ranged attacks when using the weapon. So it allows you to use your attack at range. Whereas nerdy glasses give you a +1 to excuse me. So it makes you really good at interrupting the flow of a turn.
You said it was 187?
183.
Nice. Okay.
For some reason, there are mushrooms on this stuff borders. I wonder why there are mushrooms. Oh, interesting. Just looking at the art a little more closely, I just didn't notice it before. So,
Yeah, so 183 is the stuff chapter, but I don't see the home stuff yet.
The
And I'm-
the PDF pages aren't the same. You have to actually look at the PDF page. It's like 192.
Oh, aha. No, thank you, Brent.
Yeah,
Okay,
I
you're
was
right.
really.
Yeah.
That's why I asked. That's why I asked.
That's what threw me. Yeah,
Yeah,
and,
fair
and of
enough.
course the PDF reader is looking at. Yeah, okay, never mind. It's okay. I found it. Sorry, Mike. Thank you.
Oh, it's okay. And there are 2 pages. It's a very small list of things that you can bring from home. Now, their suggestion is if you're not sure what you'd like to bring, you should always bring something for a fight. You know, Yeld is a dangerous place full of monsters and mayhem. So you can never go wrong with bringing a pocket knife or something like that.
I don't know. You could bring the swimming badge. I bet you could beat the person with the pocket knife with the swimming badge.
I feel like that would be like another game. It would be like our Dragonbane game where one of our players was like a mariner, and we were on land. Like,
Which section is that on the item in the character sheet?
for the character sheet I made. So
Stuff?
it depends. It's going to be your stuff page. So like if you chose the glasses, you would put it on your head.
Oh, it'd be under miscellaneous if it's like the flashlight. Okay.
Yep. If it's not the other one.
Did you take something, Brent?
I took the
Specific?
flashlight.
Flashlights are always good.
Oh man, I'd have bet on confiscated nunchucks.
As someone who's used nunchucks in the past, I know how easy it is to hurt yourself when you're using nunchucks.
Okay, that's fair.
You know, I'm not actually sure it mentions how easy it is to hurt yourself in this game with those.
Of course it doesn't, but it's really, really easy.
But you
It's
do
not
get
gonna do it.
+1 benefit.
Although the +1 benefit headbutt is weird because that's not what nunchucks are used for.
No,
It
but it is funny.
is funny.
Yeah, it is funny. All right. So the next part about making a friend is you're going to choose your name, and then you'll just kind of double check everything to make sure your friend is complete.
All right, I took the pocket knife, Mike.
Okay.
And then fight dirty, is that it gives me +1 fight dirty. That's stat again. That's a special dice.
Yeah. So what would happen would be is as long as you're holding your pocket knife, you would have the ability to use fight dirty. However, if your pocket knife and you are separated for whatever reason, you would not be able to use fight dirty. So that's a borrowed dice that you get only when you're holding that specific item.
Sure. I'll put must be holding pocket knife.
Mm-hmm. And fight dirty is kind of cool because if you succeed, they will not lose tough, but instead they lose 1 strong and 1 smart die as part of the effect. So those kind of things I think are kind of neat. And we'll talk about core dice and combat and all that stuff when we get a little bit closer to the story. Now, this is once your friend is actually complete, this is all you need to start your adventures in Yeld. And if we were playing the game as is suggested, just kind of through the whole thing. You'd have a very Chronicles of Narnia esque approach where go into an abandoned house and you find a door that leads, instead of leading outside, leads you to this vast plain, one of those kind of situations. Then you and the players would go through and you would start to explore Yeld as what's known as a rank 0 character. So you're just that excitement about going into a door, finding a place that's not not normal and all that stuff, and going and seeing what's there and everything is supposed to be kind of the intention behind those first few sessions. Now and the spoiler, if anybody's actually going to play this game, the spoiler is that at some point the game master shuts the door on you, so traps you inside of Yeld. So without getting into too much detail, at that point, that's when you kind of go back into the world, and you find a mentor in order to get your job. Now, my question for you guys is that normally you would complete 1 to 2 adventures if you were to play this normally. Did you guys just want to skip to getting a job, or did you want kind of the simulated rewards for completing 1 to 2 adventures? Just to kind of.
I was kind of thinking that we'd have jobs. I mean, if we're only going to, play this a little bit.
Yeah, I just didn't know if you wanted to worry about the interim between getting a job and getting to Yeld, because at this point you're doing as I think Brent mentioned it, as like the D&D thing where you just kind of show up and you're like, I've got a green cloak, I am now a mage.
Yeah, anybody who's watched the show, I'm sure already can guess my opinion and what I think.
So, but more my question is would you want the quote unquote reward dice that would come from simulating 1 to 2 adventures leading up to this point where you get your job?
How important are they?
For 2 people, probably more important than if it was 4 people. But I just wanted to leave it up to you. I didn't want to make this. I didn't want to make this.
I'm okay. I'm okay taking a job, but if Brent doesn't want to, then we won't take jobs.
Oh no, you're going to get jobs. I'm just
wondering. No, Brent 100% doesn't want to start as a nothing character. Yeah, we should probably get the reward dice if they're important.
Okay. Well, we'll do that little bit reward dice offline. It's not going to be anything crazy. The reward dice from completing adventures typically results in you getting extra special dice or treasure from a loot table, effectively. So it just the loot can be very powerful, but it could also be quite varied. Whereas the special dice allows you to target certain skills or something like that, which allows you to build a character that's more in line with what you're looking at. So first of all, do you guys want to do the jobs and kind of pick your jobs? Did you guys have a chance to decide which of these heroic jobs fits your bill?
Yep, okay. I decided what I wanted it to be.
Okay. So first, I'll just kind of explain.
Why don't you go first, Brent?
Okay. So heroic jobs are pretty much the bread and butter of when you start actually adventuring in the game, and this is what takes your character even higher in terms of skill, power level, whatever you want to do. And the game is divided into rank 0 when you first come to Yeld. Rank 1 is kind of the baseline, in my opinion, for heroic jobs, and it goes up to rank 4. And depending on how you want to play within your rank, we'll talk about that after we get our jobs all sorted. But your heroic job is what separates you from the typical citizen of Yeld. You will wear a costume which easily identifies you as said member of that job, and there's only 1 job per person. So kind of like Monster of the Week, there's really only one of you that can select that archetype within the group. So
I picked freelancer.
Freelancer, good choice. So tell us a little bit about the freelancer and what drew you to them.
Well, they're kind of clever. Speed and intelligence are kind of what makes them, which I think is good for the know-it-all. They're pretty important in Yeld, it seems like. The Union is has a very strong reputation across the kingdom. So it seems pretty interesting. A little bit, they kind of good at everything, kind of.
Okay. Perfect. So as a freelancer, just remember being pretty good at everything is better than being great at just one thing. You get 2 new core dice. You get +1 brave and +1 smart. And now this is where it's really interesting, is because freelancers can use swords, axes, clubs, bows, daggers, polearms, staffs, and knuckles. So that's like nearly everything on your character sheet. So that's a pretty big deal by comparison to everything else. And then you get 2 special dice, gamble and trade, and then you get a freelancer costume and 2 weapons of current rank. So what you'll see as you're reading the equipment and everything like that is that everything is like, says there's a lot of things that have X in the description of what it does. Anytime you see an X, that tells you that replace X with your current rank. So if you're rank 1, you get 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever it may be.
And we're rank 1, right?
Yeah, you're going to be rank 1 for this adventure. If I do everything properly. Hopefully it's not too easy, too hard, all that stuff. Okay. And the freelancer, can you tell them can you share the job ability improvise and what it does?
Job ability improvise. To find it. Freelancers do a little bit of this and a little bit of that, picking up slack for their friends. During each adventure, the freelancer has 4 improvised dice that he can spend at any time. So anytime during the adventure, if I want to boost one of my abilities, I can. As far as any core or special die roll, or any attack, or can add them to his smart dice to try and cast any spells from any spell book or scroll in their possession. So if I find a spell book or scroll, I can also use that.
Yeah.
And that's only once. I can only use those 4 dice during each adventure. So then they refresh between adventures, I guess.
Mm-hmm. It's a pretty powerful ability. Honestly, it's really nice. Jeff, what about you? What did you choose?
I've looked at a couple and considered a couple, but I think I'm going to go with Soul Thief. I almost went with Black Mage, just to try and have some fun.
Just to light everything on fire? Seems like that's their specialty.
I should have taken the matches.
I think that's a Witch Hunter.
Well, it could be Black Mage or Witch Hunter, I guess.
Or Black Mage. Sorry, I thought you were talking about Soul Hunter.
Okay, so Soul Thief. Tell us a little bit about Soul Thief. Why did you choose them? What do they get? And
etc. The Soul Thief uses stealth, shadows, and cutting blades to protect their friends. Friends who take on the heroic job of Soul Thief see Yeld as broken, corrupt place and feels no remorse when doing what must be done to protect their friends. They walk a fine line between good and evil. Their benefits are, the just remember is, I can't be afraid to kill. The core dice are +1 strong, +1 brave. Weapons are swords and daggers. Special dice are hide and sneak and see in the dark. They get a Soul Thief costume, a dagger of their current rank, and 1 other weapon of their current rank.
Okay. And you actually get 2 abilities. What are your 2 abilities?
Steal Soul. Whenever one of my attacks reduces a monster's tough dice to 0, I bank an action that I can spend as soon as I gain it. And then the other job ability is Soul Charged. Whenever I use a bank action, I can gain one of the following benefits: either Drain, Disappear, Dance, or Doom.
Okay. And banking actions is actually really interesting because during combat, just so people know what the terminology means, is that if you don't do an action during your turn, a friend or a monster can choose to save their action for using it later. I think people in Dungeons and Dragons have used held actions for quite a bit. However, banking an action in this game is basically, you just hold on to the action for a future turn. Now, the weird part is, and this is kind of an interesting twist to it, is that a friend can bank as many actions as they want and use as many banked actions during a single turn as they'd like. But any banked actions not used at the end of the adventure are lost, which implies to me that if you bank actions during a combat, those carry over to the next combat. That's a very
kind of sounds that way. That sounds sort of powerful. Depending.
Well, I mean, you're giving up turns, so you're I hate to use the Dragon Ball Z approach, but you're basically charging up for.
Well, yeah,
Right.
Brent can take it.
Brent will stand in front.
Brent's got it. He's a freelancer. He could do anything.
He's got improvisational days. So that's
he's the most versatile of the magical friends.
Indeed.
It's true. So once you've got your heroic jobs and everything like that, you have your soul thief costume and everything like that. That's pretty much it. Now, normally you would go through a process with your mentor to decide how you got your job. Like, did you train for it? Is it equipment that you're donned to become this thing? And this is where the storytelling part is. And I hate to say we're skipping a lot of the normal storytelling that would happen if you
were skipping some of the storytelling.
Yeah, that you would do.
I don't know how to say it.
I mean, I hate to do that, but in order to kind of get a little bit more into different systems within the game, this is just kind of our approach to see how it all goes. So depending on how you guys want to, develop your own headcanon as to how your adventurers went, and how you did all that, we can decide that as we get into our first adventure. But just so people that are aware watching this, is normally you would go through a lot more narrative to get to this point, and you would develop a stronger attachment to your friend before choosing the heroic job. But my understanding is that you would choose the heroic job you want.
You would actually play through the game before you choose you'd actually take that's what your first two adventures are, right?
Yeah.
You're angling towards picking the actual job that you want to do.
Yeah, as you get a feel for the game and what you like how you like to play and everything like that. Yep. So not to say that we like skipping that, but it is just for this particular thing, we're going to get to the heroic job.
We'll figure it out on our own instead of doing it in a group setting. It's okay.
Yeah. So next is kind of the actual gameplay. So outside of the normal storytelling beats that happen through the game of Yeld and like playing through the actual game itself, is the game is very strongly recommending taking turns as game masters, so that you got, again, this is that collaborative storytelling component. I would run the game, but then Jeff would take a crack at it, Brent would take a crack at it, and each of you would contribute your own stories to the Land of Yeld. Now, this of course addresses what happens to my friend while I'm game master and all that stuff. But I think that most people who've played a game where one of your people at the table has been absent, they either become a cardboard cutout, another person plays them. I mean, same kind of suggestions here.
They're a ghost.
They could be ghosts the entire time if you want, I guess.
Sure.
That's fine. But for everyone's understanding, I'm not going to play a friend in this just because I'm going to be running the adventure, and I don't usually put a DMPC for myself in there. I usually just play the NPCs. All right. So now to get into the adventure, because I'm going to homebrew something for you guys so we can play this, I would like you guys to help create an adventure title for the game that we're going to play and a difficulty. So everything starts with a title. We can workshop this a little bit, whatever you'd like to do, but what are you guys feeling? Like, you guys feel like you guys want to do a dungeon delve with these characters? You guys feel like you want to usurp the power of a king? You want to go straight into Dargul at rank 1? Like, where do you guys feel like you want to take the game?
I mean, at rank 1, probably not taking on the big bad of the entire game, but starting along that path to disrupt his stuff, maybe. I don't know. You got any thoughts, Brent?
Something simple like a dungeon delves would be fine. I mean, if the great game encourages that. What type of games do they usually encourage?
Well, it really tries to leave it a little bit open-ended, where you guys really plan the ideas and themes you'd like for your adventure together. So because Yeld is really I would say that Yeld doesn't really have that kind of Tolkien inspiration that a lot of fantasy does when you kind of open it out of the box. So like, for example, like goblins in this are really good at math, and that's how they attack people, is with math. or something like that. I've been reading over the monsters, and there's some very strange twists on what you would expect monsters to be. So it's pretty much anything you'd like to do. So if you'd want to do like a job in a city where you have to procure
So you're
an item,
saying we can do a heist, Mike?
we could try a heist. We can give that a whirl. If that's what you wanted to do.
I don't know. I just was being.
That's
If you
fine
want
with
to
me.
do a dungeon delve, you can do a dungeon delve. If you want me to put that together for you guys, I'm just letting you know that the game doesn't want you to be constrained with what you would.
But saying you can do anything really isn't a good way to
Well,
arrive at anything.
That's true. But if so like I'm on a clock, because if I'm in Yeld, by the time I hit 13, then I stay in Yeld forever. And so if we got to get 7 keys to get out of here, then I think that our first adventure should be trying to locate the first key, which I'm assuming, just based on fantasy tropes, is the weakest of the 7 lieutenants of the big bad guy.
Yeah, that'd be fine.
Okay, so
I mean, if we're doing it like as a character motivated thing, if we're not, we can dungeon delve.
No, that's
we can
good.
kick down
No,
a door
that's good for your character. That's good character development. So yes, I agree. Acknowledging that you're on a clock is.
And I didn't pick tomorrow for my birthday.
is much better. Well, you just have to pick a date anyways, and like it just move it on you. But yeah. So I think that's good.
Yeah. I picked June 30th, and Mike says, "Good thing today is July 1st."
Yeah, exactly.
No, I picked my birthday. It's Valentine's Day.
Okay, so you would like to see what it's like to go against against one of the hunters of.
Well, maybe not the hunter themselves, but maybe some of the hunter's minions. I don't know. Should we be able to take one of them on at rank 1?
I don't know. That's a good question.
But yeah, sure. I mean, if you thought we could, I'm all for trying. I gotta get out of here a matter of months.
It's a good character motivated story, so I would hope they would allow that.
I would hope so. Well, it's going to come up, right? That's all I'm saying. It's going to come up.
Yeah. Well, I was actually just curious because I'm wondering because like if they have a rank thing in there to decide. So let me check and see if there's a. I will see if there's a ranking process to this, because basically what I'd hate to do is be like, oh, this Hunter of Yeld sounds really cool, and then miss that there's like a little subtext for it to be like you need to be rank 3 or better to fight this boss, or else you could really have a lot of difficulty there.
Right, but we could just be traveling to get to the place where they're at if they're not conveniently in the city where we happen to, that's close to our doorway or something.
Okay. So basically finding a hunter, whether or not you actually find the hunter is there, but it's pretty much in service of getting to the hunter. Now, let's say we were not fighting a hunter and everything like that. Getting the information, the adventure to do so. Do you have any ideas as to themes, like what flavor of Yeld would you want to see here? Just out of curiosity.
What does that mean?
Yeah.
Do you have any for example, would you want it to be Egyptian themed, Japanese themed, European themed? What's the style, the flavor, would you want to go into they suggest things like, oh, would you want to go into a mummy's crypt? That kind of thing. That's the kind of theme that I'm looking at here.
Well, that doesn't necessarily make it Egyptian.
No.
Would be the first thing I would say. Do we want to encounter mummies? Sure.
You asshole.
Sure.
No, I mean, I'm just confused because Yeld seems to have a fairly European background to it, like JRPG pseudo-European background. So I think there's already a feel for what the world is like. is why I'm confused. If we want to encounter like, and you can encounter like, what I'm saying is you can encounter like, sure, we can encounter mummies or whatever.
Okay. All right, because this is what they suggest. So our group decides that we want this game to be something about exploring the Whispering Swamp, learning how to fight with swords, and protecting our friends in the towns with bandits. We choose the title Bandit Duel at Whispering Swamp. So that's the kind of approach that they take. And so by discussing the ideas, the themes, and choosing an adventure titles, everyone is hopefully helping collaborate as to what.
So we want to. So let's try this, Mike. Let me know, Mike, Jeff. Let me know if this sounds better.
Okay.
So we want to do a dungeon delve that gets us further along our path to finding one of the hunters. Either a clue as to their location, an item that will help defeat them, or something of that.
That'd be cool.
Of that nature. And it's called the Devil's Butthole Dungeon.
You had me right up until the end. I was with you. I was jumping on the train.
The Mummy's Butthole Dungeon.
Oh, now it's thematic, so I have to go with it. Okay, I have to accept it now. All right.
Now I have to try and think of a real name.
Honestly, think that you're naming an anime title, chapter.
I don't do good with that
because
my names for stuff are all really random.
I can tell.
No, I mean even the serious ones are random. Because I usually pick words out of things that I like, and that's what I use for titles. The Dungeon of Friends Descent. Dungeon of Friends Exploration? Dungeon of Friends Time Clock, because you're on the clock for your thing.
Perfect.
The Dungeons of Friends Descent. We'll go with that one.
Okay. Well, no one said anything, so I was just going to keep throwing them out there, Mike.
You were on a roll.
What did you want from me?
I did not want it to stop. I wanted the roll to continue, so I didn't jump in.
Yeah, I was just trying to give freedom there without, you know what I'm saying, like creating the narrative and then just having you guys just get wrapped up in an adventure I was going to run for you or something like that. Okay, so basically, and just to recap, you want something that will get you closer.
Yeah, I'm thinking it's more like we're going in this dungeon to get an item of some sort. Either the item's going to tell us where they are,
or a clue,
or it's going to help us defeat them, or a clue how we can get off Yeld after the door
We're going to capture one of his toadies who's going to give us information.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Something.
Yep. Gotcha. I can do that, I think.
You know, the map with the shows the secret passage, you know.
You could probably shorten it to like Friends Descent as the title for this.
Yeah, that works.
Because that kind of calls to the dungeon. That kind of calls to
the friends,
to us being us as characters, and then his worry that his time in Yeld's running out.
Okay, so I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to work with you, Jeff, a little bit offline, and
sure,
because as you get closer to 13, you start to, kind of assume the visage of, basically small changes and everything like that start to come through. So I think we can talk about that.
Is it puberty? Are we going to have the talk, Dad? Is that you? Sorry.
There could be an allegory for that.
It could be.
Could be.
Turning into the monstrousness of an adult.
Yeah, that's why you can't leave Yeld, because you're not an innocent child anymore.
Maybe. I'm sure there's a lot of people that could read into the allegory behind
sure
decisions they made here, to talk about that stuff. So
yeah, we don't have to.
I think there's a lot of allegory in the game, frankly.
Yeah, that's true. So okay. Well then we will call that part of the adventure. I'll get one started up for you. Now, how adventures work is they go through a process, like so what Brent just did there. What we encourage to do is just, like I said, everyone kind of pitches in to a degree and gets what they, kind of gets what they want of the adventure. And the goal is to, have a situation, and much like when we were talking about those, building your players' goals and everything like that, just to have something for everybody to pursue in the course of this. So Brent, just out of curiosity, what do you have anything special that your character would be pursuing other than just the knowledge of the hunter? Because it's like,
I mean, we're trying to get off Yeld, right?
technically, yeah.
That's my character's goal, is to get off Yeld.
Yeah.
Preferably quickly before my friend turns into rumored monster.
A rumor monster.
Well, I assume we don't know that's for sure what's going to happen as kids in Yeld, but with there being a rumored story that might be something that happens, we're probably I'm quickly trying to help my friend.
Yeah, okay. Works for me.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be late getting my homework in.
Yes.
Will you? No, I was kidding. So, okay.
As far as I know.
He already said he was, so he is. It's already late.
Yeah. You're gonna be super late. 3 years late. Okay. Well, that's pretty much it. I mean, as you guys can tell, it's a fairly simplistic character design process. The goal is to really have you kind of like lean into your characters and all that stuff. And I'm sure if you wanted to, you could, go through the process of adding additional backstory and all those kind of things. Or if you want, you can just use this as the framework and you can build your character's history as you go, kind of inserting, history and depth as it becomes relevant to the character, like some games suggest and all that stuff. I really think it's kind of up to you. So with that, I think that's ta-da. We did it. We made characters in Yeld.
We did.
And it wasn't too hard. Even with a lot of
that wasn't a bad process.
It's a pretty easy system.
Yeah.
It helped that I read quite a bit of it at the beginning in advance.
We all did homework this time.
It helps.
Go us.
Yay.
So hey, sometimes it's tough to get players to do homework. I say that as a player.
Yeah, I don't know what it was, but I feel like back in the day, if we like, I don't remember when I started reading Dungeons and Dragons, like AD&D, but I feel like I was really young, like 10. I was looking like the dungeon, like those because I just picked them up from the library.
I was
Like,
probably 11 for me, 11, 12, because I was in 6th grade.
Yeah, because I started playing
I
like
was
a
somewhere
Marvel
around there.
superhero game back when I was in 5th grade, and then we picked up D&D almost immediately after because that was the only role playing book at the library. Which now that I think about it, it's baffling that they had that at the library.
The kid that I started playing D&D with actually stole his copies of the Dungeons and Dragons books from a library. That's how he got them.
Really?
Yeah.
Nice.
He was just like, I just never took them back. Or, well, he also moved from California to Montana, so there's that factor too. But yeah, so funny story.
I don't think that's the 1,000 books I wanted kids to read before they get. But whatever. But yeah, no. But it's interesting to me because like that was a far more complicated game than this. Like I just remember.
Well, yeah, but you also had twice as much time to actually read things.
Are you kidding? I had it like an infinity amount of times. It feels like back then I had just hours and hours.
What are your responsibilities as a kid? Read something, and that's about it. Maybe chores.
Yeah, taking the dog out for a walk. Those kind of things. That's about it. So, alrighty. Well, so if you guys have any comments, you made it to the end of the video. First of all, thank you. If you have any comments, leave them down below. Let us know if you have any suggestions based on your own experience playing with Yeld, or anything else. Let us know. Or if we missed something, because I may have missed something. It feels too easy. So if I miss something, please let us know. We'll address that for our next game. And then, Jeff, how can they get a hold of us if they want to reach us on the socials?
They can find us at Rollwise, Blue Sky, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Threads. You can also email us. We are rollwiseguys@gmail.com.
As always, as Mike said, thank you for joining us. Roll well, roll wise, and be safe out there. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks.